if we could go down the row, you get to say your name, please, one sentence about your company, one sentence about what you do there.
Sure. Orlando Lima. I'm the Vice President of Digital. I am at Viacom, specifically VH1. And my team controls all of the products that we use for digital content and actually makes all the content that fundamentally doesn't go on television.
My name is Brian Rifkin. I'm with JW Player. I'm one of the co-founders and run a group called JW Demand, which consults with our publishers on their monetization. And JW Player is a video player and video platform.
I'm Michael Downing, founder and CEO of Tout. We have a TV network that's built for the internet, and I'm the founder and CEO.
Awesome. Now, the pop question. What was the last video you watched? Most recently? 5 minutes ago.
The last music video?
Any video.
The last video I watched was for the new season of Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Brian?
The last video I watched was this morning. My daughter introduced me to an Instagram account called Breadface. I don't know if anyone's seen this before, but
does anyone know about Breadface?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
All right. It's a woman in New York who goes out and buys bread and pastries and other stuff, brings it home, sets it up like she's going to have a nice dinner, and then puts a camera in front of her and proceeds to push her face just into the bread over and over. So.
And this is premium content.
Premium content.
Right
super premium content.
Everyone's watching it. Michael, I know you've been
mine
busy,
is
but
not
you watch
nearly
video.
that interesting. Honestly, a viral video I saw this morning of a sea lion or a seal at a pier who pulled the girl into the water. Holy crap, that was terrifying.
This is like a huge video. Have people seen this? It was
If you
trending
haven't
on
seen
all
it, look it
feeds.
up
It's
right now.
unbelievable.
It'll scare
She's
the
rescued by
crap
her
out of you.
father.
How quick. He
It
was
doesn't
quick
have
in the
bad
water,
ending.
though, right?
I mean, and the dad jumped in or whoever
Yeah,
so
dad.
quickly to pull her out. It was
It's
just
amazing.
amazing. Yeah.
Okay, so, and
Premium
all of you are
content.
watching these videos on your phones?
For the most part, on the phone, yeah.
Phone.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
on the phone.
So now, audience, because we need to know what they watch on their phones or on any device. So some questions for the audience just to help us tailor what we're going to be talking about and also to be ready for questions from you all. How many of you watched a video on your phone this morning? Almost everyone. Was it entertainment, just keep your hands up, or news? Split. Okay. You can keep your hands up for this. How many of you subscribe to Netflix? Hulu? Amazon? Prime? YouTube Red?
Sorry.
Good
I've said
to
too
know.
much.
How many people work at Google in this room?
Oh dear.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
So Facebook
everywhere.
Live, I think everyone has watched video on Facebook Live, particularly exploding watermelons and other fun things. And at home, do you have the following devices? Roku, Apple TV, Echo, Xbox. Watch video on Xbox. Game only on Xbox. Okay.
Amazon Fire Stick.
A few.
Cody. Yeah, see, he knows.
Okay, so that helpful? So now we know. All right, so back to you guys. We're going to be talking about television and what is happening with this burst of OTT channels, YouTube, Facebook, all these platforms where people are actually becoming TV broadcasters and what that means for your business. I'm going to go with Brian in the middle first because unknowns to me until last week, JW Player is the third largest video platform in the world after Facebook and YouTube. So that's a major accomplishment, and let's sort of talk about like what that means, what you're seeing trends on the network. Obviously, you guys are touching a lot of video. What do you call premium?
What do we call premium content? We call premium content setting up an environment where it's the optimal user and advertiser experience, and that usually begins with having a user with intent to watch that video. I mean, they're going to wherever they are, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube or on their owned and operated, and they want to press play, or they expect that video to start because they clicked on a thumbnail to get there where they expect the video to be.
Michael, Tout touches a lot of video, a lot of broadcasters video,
Yeah.
a lot of television assets.
Right.
What would you say about this?
So my definition of premium content Well, right now, if you look at the content that we deliver, it's about 300 channels of mostly broadcaster, what I think traditionally would be considered premium content based on the type of content. However,
Based on the name, the cost of creating it, the brand?
it depends on who you're asking. For advertisers and agencies, premium content is I recognize the brand who's generating that, and that brand is a proxy for a specific audience. Mm-hmm. Just like I know if I'm buying MTV, I'm getting kids who are into music and games and so on. And so I think that's traditionally been the definition of premium, but I would agree with Brian that the general physics of the market are changing such that it's the experience, the environment, the form factor of how people are watching video that's starting to define the word premium more. I think brand is still wildly important, but I do agree with him that just the packaging of that experience is starting to become the premium component as well.
Okay, now I'm going to turn to the actual TV guy. Let's talk about premium.
So premium.
You never expected to be the TV guy.
No, I did not. But premium content for us is the things you would expect from Viacom. Key and Peele, Love and Hip Hop, anything like that, Daily Show, et cetera, et cetera. Now, so we excel in what I would say is this long form cable TV space, the area where we have a lot to learn, and where I think we've got a lot of catching up to do, and has been a big focus for the company, is how do we take that experience that we had generated billions of dollars from cable contracts and people seeing that stuff and loving it on TV to these smaller devices and or to short form spaces.
So on the short form and device nature of things, can we talk about Snapchat? Because the amount of dollars and creativity that are being invested in Snapchat programming right now is not insignificant. All of our major publishers are looking at exclusive to Snapchat only series and shows. So starting with you, like how do you look at Snapchat as a platform that's maybe ephemeral but also growing leaps and bounds? Our kids use it.
Yeah, for us, it's really interesting. We have a lot of ad sales that come our way, integrated marketing things that we get requested for Snapchat. So there is definitely a focus on some of the social media platforms coming in from our ad sales company teams, which means that they're coming in from people who want to advertise. So there is definitely people who want to generate, eyeballs and revenue there for us. I think it's difficult for us, and I don't want to single out Snapchat because we also have a deal with Snapchat, but those are the things I think that are really difficult for us. For us, it's like you go to we have a team of people depending on a brand. It's a show production team. They're used to producing 22 minutes. It's going to be chopped up, and they're going to put commercials in there. Boom, boom, boom. You now come and you tell those people, I need a 15-second video. I need a 30-second video. I need for us in our mind, we think of that as a promo, not as like you can have a full piece of content contained in that space. So I actually think that we are behind the curve there. There are other people who do it really a lot better. I look at smaller kind of content companies, and I think if we could move with that speed, we would be doing so much better because we have there's a desire for us to be there, to be good at it. But we just, I don't think are as good as we could be.
So that gets to the value of the content is who's watching it. So a little bit shifting away from how much money is being spent on it, but actually like there are huge audiences here on these platforms. So.
Right. Well, do you want me to take that one?
Take one and then I have.
Okay. I actually have a different, broader opinion on social media, and that is I think that we are, sooner or later, it's going to hit an apex and it's going to turn in a different direction. I take this almost back.
This is not the social panel. That comes later.
Right. So I also wonder about that. Like, are we as a big company chasing what I think is going to be short-term dollars necessarily? So I have a little bit of a different opinion in that regard on it. I wouldn't say that our ad sales team does, but I think that these things are going to change. I think that people are using social media in a different way. At some point, they're going to recognize that they've given up their private individual status, and there is going to be a change in the way that people use them, which is then going to mean a change in the types of things that we create for those platforms.
Okay, so that is a great segue for my next question, which is going to be about data. So all day and a lot of yesterday, we were seeing a lot about what cameras everywhere could do for us, but improve the environment, improve health, improve the nature of everything that we're doing, drive autonomous cars, all kinds of things that you guys unfortunately didn't get to hear. But in that whole world, like, there wasn't a lot of talk about privacy, but in media we're always obsessed with privacy because the most targeted ads start to feel really spooky. When you actually are delivered the things that you were just shopping for, it starts to feel really creepy. So insofar as the best media is what you want to watch right now, but the fact that you have to deal with a lot of data to get it to there, what do you feel like the limit is between actually being relevant and helpful to consumers on the media side versus, again, really spooking them?
Great question.
You're up.
Well, I have a pointed perspective on this because the basis of what we do at Tout is we take in a ton of content from a lot of different companies, and then across these 4,000 sites, we are using the data about the contextual environment on the page.
Just for a second,
Yeah.
because I think VH1, we know the VH1 brand. Hopefully everyone in here has watched at least one or 7,000 VH1 shows. Video player, video platform, a little bit straightforward. Can you just explain again, like how Tout, for everyone in here, how it works essentially as an exchange?
Yeah, absolutely. So we basically have 300 channels of news, sports, entertainment content, most of it broadcast TV content. That content comes in, we analyze all that video
And
as
that's
it
all
comes in.
third party, you're not creating any.
We're not in the business of creating content. You can think of us as pipes, smart pipes though. And then across 4,000 different websites, what we do is we look at a user arrive on a page, we look at that page and see what the content is that they're engaging in. Let's say an article about Donald Trump making a ridiculous speech at NATO. And then we will identify the most relevant video that goes with that article, and we will bring that video into that environment. So you can think about this as personalized TV or targeted programming based on both the contextual relevance of where the user is, but also who they are. So we look at that individual user. We have over 300 million profiles that we track, and we may know that you're an 18 to 25-year-old person who likes Hispanic comedy and Italian soccer or whatever it may be. And so the content that we're pushing to you is based on that data. So data plays a huge role in how we ultimately try to put the right content in front of the right user at the right time.
Yes.
Is that clear?
Care to comment? No, that was totally
great. Yeah.
totally clear.
Okay, yeah.
I think there's a lot
realize
of-
it's
right.
super important,
Yeah.
and at the same time, I don't know how much I love it. Right?
If you were watching it right now, you would love it.
I would, of course, love it. But I think sometimes the blurriness between targeting ads, which feels so intrusive,
Right.
and targeting content, which we hope to be relevant, but starts to feel
Well,
odd.
but the
it's a
great
fine
news
line.
is this isn't ads. This is content, right? We're here to entertain, engage, educate. So we're not in the ads business. We're not an ad tech company. We're in the content business. Our goal and our only success metric is, did we put the right piece of content in front of you? And the user always tells us by either watching that content or saying, nope, don't want to watch that.
So, Brian,
So-
comment
so
on this
this
because
is-
you guys go through this a
yeah,
lot
the-
too,
my-
and then we'll go back to how
Yeah,
it
sure.
actually works on the machine learning side of
So,
things.
so my opinion on this is, the internet is, wide open, no barriers to entry. So there's people in here doing great stuff with data. There's people in here not, using data in ways that piss people off because you keep retargeting me, even though I bought that product a week ago, right? But there's real value in moving technology forward and providing the right experience when data is used right. So it's really about who's using it, are they following the right policies, and are they delivering a better experience for the consumer?
So from the sheer size of JW and the amount of content you guys are dealing with every day, is more of the analytics you guys are seeing being used by publishers for advertisers or publishers to program for their audiences?
So first, I don't know if publishers understand who's using their data based on what they're putting on their site. I think that's really, really important.
Orlando, do you want to say something
really
about that?
Sure.
That's number one.
I'll wait.
Right? If data is being used for a purpose, saying, right, if you go to a publisher and you're a data company, say, I'm going to help you with your data, and here's what we're going to do is X, Y, and Z, and there's value there, right? Whether it's creating more video views or delivering the right audience, then that's something the publisher should engage in. But I think number one, what's going on is publisher needs to understand their audience, their users, and what data they want to give to any partners that are entering that site.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think a digital content team, and a large part of my team is, people who actually make cool stuff, is we have a mandate to make money for our company, right? That is going to be based upon, data. How many people came looked at it? How many page views? How many streams? How many this? How many that? Whereas our counterparts who work in linear are really, only judged by Nielsen, which we all know is flawed in many, many ways. And, no one goes to them with a mandate and says, you got to generate this much revenue. Like, those shows are going to be sold as part of a package that's going to go to a cable company. So in my world, the data is extremely important because it validates essentially what our business is, how we're, in my case, what my content strategy is, and how I'm going to make what I'm going to make. Is this a play to get more people on the site? Is it just a reach play? Is it a revenue play, et cetera? The one thing that I find a little frustrating in the giant world of data at this point is I think the rise of data came so quickly on people, outside of this room where everyone seems to be a data genius. Well, next year I feel like this is going to be all machines looking back at me, taking notes. But the rise came so quickly, there were so few people that really understood like what all these analytic tools meant and what it was telling you, et cetera, that everyone decided, you would be in a meeting and someone would be like, the Google Analytics say this, the Omniture says that, boom, I'm right, you're wrong. And everybody wanted to have that piece of leverage in a boardroom to say, I'm right, the computer told me I'm right, you're wrong, we're doing it my way, I'm getting a promotion, you're getting fired. And so...
Welcome to corporate.
Right,
this is why we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the room.
But what's happened over time now is people have just found ways to manipulate the data and or interpret the data in a way that just is going to validate whatever it is that they're trying to tell you or sell you, et cetera, in these spaces. So now there are a million times where I feel like I'm in a meeting and someone says to me as one of the original digital guys in the room, like, well, I mean, the data, the research team looked at it and they say this, and this is what makes sense. And I'm like, come on, man, like that's a pile of crap. Like you essentially went to our research team and said, prove this, find a stat that is going to prove this for me, and they did it. So I think now it's even like we have to look a little deeper and we have to be a little bit more thoughtful when we think about data specifically in media, because it's not being used for its original intent, which is to advise. It's now being used as a way to, validate different types of business decisions, et cetera, right, outside of context.
Michael, given all the data that you guys are processing, and you can now talk about machine learning, do you want to comment more on how you make it actually work?
Well, I mean, for us, the core of our technology is a portfolio of patents that we took out of the Stanford Research Institute, which is a kind of AI and machine learning combination for understanding patterns across the web, understanding text-based content, understanding video-based content, and interpreting out of that the kind of affinities that people have.
And this works, so Brian and I had this conversation last week about how you convince publishers who are very precious about their real estate on their pages. How do you convince them? Like, my system and my player is going to program a better video there than your editor is going to. Like,
so
your
money.
entertainment
Lots
editor.
of money.
Yeah,
like,
this is
right?
a great.
This
This
is
is a great question.
thing.
This is a great question. So here's the reality that we've experienced across the publisher universe when it comes to video specifically. Even if it's a brand that creates a lot of video, most publishers are not creating a lot of video. But across the entire ecosystem of publishers, you look at all the articles they publish, and typically it's about 10% or fewer of the articles actually have relevant video in them. Unless you are a television company, it's very hard for you to be generating and producing enough video to actually have your own first-party video to cover every single article that you
And
publish
you want
in every
that
topic.
because? I mean, I
You
know
want
the
that
answer,
because
but-
on a single article or page that has a video, your RPM or your revenue opportunity is about 8 times higher than if it doesn't have a video. Your time on site is about 4 times higher. Your social sharing patterns are about 3 times higher. So there's all kinds of benefits to having video in the experience. And as we know, the internet is becoming a video-centric medium. It's fully kind of assuming this TV metaphor. And unfortunately, as we go further down this path, a lot of publishers are being left behind. So the way that we convince publishers, hey, listen, let our machine learning AI system basically bring in third-party video that's relevant to every article is we typically just say, let this run for 24 hours and see what happens. And in every single case, we increase the amount of video consumed anywhere from 8 to 15x, which for them is very significant.
And perhaps horrifying for anyone who has an editorial position, right?
Editorial people get a little
this is-
nervous about
right,
that.
because this is sort of the one corner of the internet universe that they can control is my page and my channel, and we go through this all the time with publishers about you must have more video in your pages, and if you can't create it yourself, like where are you getting it from, and how do you let it surface?
And fundamentally, curating has always been a part of the internet publishing mantra, right?
Manually curating.
Well,
I'm
no one ever said manually.
No, but I think that was the origin, right? Like you're looking at these UGC, and we're moderating UGC, and we're doing competitions in UGC with brands.
Right.
Make your own Pepsi commercial, and then we'll run it, or those types of things.
So we have customers or partners who publish, collectively across their different publications over 1,000 articles a day. And 90% of those articles, our system, our kind of automated system, is matching the most relevant video from all kinds of media companies to those. They get notified. They can see what those videos are. They completely have control over saying, ooh, I don't like this Vice video next to this article or whatever it may be, so they can make those changes. But at the end of the day, what they see is positive effect, positive impact in terms of engagement and time spent and, of course, revenue, which is more important now for these publishers than ever.
For sure. Brian, do you see more on the engagement side when you turn autoplay on?
No.
No.
You're saying an auto start.
Not auto start, autoplay. So follow on playlists after the first.
Oh, after the first. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So just
those are automatic.
Those are
set.
automatic.
Wait,
The users click play, they've engaged.
If there's more engagement, you could hand place or specifically place a featured video here. What happens if a machine or the system lets more videos play after? Do you actually see meaningful engagement there? It's just like, that's not for me. I'm going away.
Yeah, you can. So the machine learning that we're doing at JW Player starts with the beginning of it, which is, let me select the right thumbnail for you because we think machines can choose better than humans. And then it goes to algorithms and such yourself where we could see what's on the page. Let's deliver the right video for that person. Right. When the user starts to engage with the video, what we're also starting to understand is what do they want to watch next? And it's based on how people are consuming video across all JW
So you're
players.
dynamically serving the next. It's not a playlist.
You
can do that.
We can do that. We could pull it in. And where we think there's just as good of an opportunity is, are we creating great branded content inventory for the owned and operated publisher? Because the owned and operated publisher today, if you look at the successful ones, their strategy is programmatic for pre-roll primarily, and then selling branded content experiences. But most of that distribution for branded content is occurring on Facebook, on YouTube, where I can go get a gazillion plays.
Right.
But the value of that branded content is really saying, no, you're on my site with my brand. This is what I sold you.
And my people.
That's right. So if we can help deliver that experience and it's an engaged user, which is what we're seeing for that second video, it's pretty powerful.
I got a very quick comment on that, and that is, as a person who has come from a content creation background with also some background in kind of doing some product, like the rise of the machines in that regard, it doesn't scare me. I don't look at it and be like, oh my God, it's Terminator, like it's the Matrix, they're coming for us. I'm going to be a battery. Like, it doesn't work like that for me. I look at it, if I could use a different analogy, as like, let's take my home for instance, right? So, do I think that it is valuable for me to pay someone? Is it a valid job to have for someone to clean my house versus is it a valid job to have someone to take care of my kids during the day while I'm at work? Like, I'm good with having a Roomba robot sweep the floors and all that, and thinking that like we can create some kind of economy in the world where people have better things to do with their life and like let the machines do that. Do I want a robot taking care of my child when I'm not there? No, probably not. It's a different type of thing. And when I apply that to when I look at work, I'm like, there are some things in this whole world, and people in marketing departments, ad sales departments would tell you, the product departments would tell you the same thing, and many of the things, the presentations I saw her earlier, like there are things that people just shouldn't be doing anymore in this world that machines could be doing for us and be doing better. But there are other things that I fundamentally believe you're going to need a human brain for, you're going to need some creativity for. And like those are the spaces where people, all of us as humans, have to think about evolving in our own brain, evolving in our own careers, and being better in those spaces, and letting go of some of these things that are fundamentally going to are from the past.
Yeah, I would just
Hear, hear.
add one thing to that, which is when you talk about this notion of the importance of AI or different intelligent technology, you know, the basic physics of the marketplace that we've seen since 2006 or so is there's more content than ever being produced. And the reality is a lot of that content is good. And so with more content than ever, I think there's a necessity, there's a need for some layer of intelligence to be able to
Filter.
bring the content to you as opposed to you having to dig around and find that, because we're getting to a scale where that is just simply impossible. I mean,
So there's too much to watch now?
well, it's the proverbial fire hose. I mean, there's so much video content. I mean, you just can't even find. There's a lot of stuff you would be interested in and you would love, and you will never find it because it is, you know, a warehouse that's the size of, you know, 8 football fields, right?
And I think there's so many different platforms today,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So
So
we
you
haven't
can,
even gotten to the cross-platform.
right, we haven't gotten there, but really, like, you know, it used to be a TV guide. There's no guide. Things are everywhere, you know. You choose
Yeah.
where you want to go. There's
Yeah.
probably about 25 different places you can go and just be stuck watching hours
Totally.
and hours of video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the hands going up for different platforms, as we all know, there's different providers
I know,
on different platforms.
I'm waiting for the guide, the cross-platform guide. Tell me where my show is. Like, give me the whole, every device, every internet
I
site.
think
Give
I've
me
been
where my
pitched
show
like 7
is.
or 8 of those. You know, the
just
mega
want
meta guide of video, wherever it may be. But you know, keep one thing in mind. April 2003 is when iTunes launched. Having been a guy who was in the online music space for years in the 90s, 1 month before they launched in March 2003, there were about, if I remember correctly, 123 different online music stores. One of them sold Sony Music, one of them sold EMI Music, one of them sold Universal Music, one of them sold
All the
Sony
different
and EMI, but not
formats,
Universal.
too.
So the fragmentation, we're seeing the same exact fragmentation right now, an absurd level of, you know, discombobulated strategies on how content gets to different endpoints. And for sure, that'll get cleaned up. But we are, I think, reaching that kind of peak fragmentation at this point.
Right.
Pause for a sec. I want to get some questions from the audience before we run out of time. Are there questions? Are you thinking of questions? Go ahead. In the middle.
There's a mic to your left right there in the middle. Where are the other mics?
Hi, I'm Aaron from Upright Media. Let me declare my bias up front. We're a vertical video editor. You guys were talking Snapchat.
Wait, did you say where are you from?
Upright Media. We're a
Upright
vertical
Media?
video. Yeah. We had a brief Snapchat discussion. You talked about the 15, 30-second thing. But mobile watching has also got these weird form factors, like Snapchat's
second.
got everyone
Where are
doing
the other
vertical
mics?
video. Instagram with the bread faces or like square. What do you
Okay,
guys
thank
feel
you.
about that?
Thank
Would you prefer that actually we all just rotate our phones and watch in widescreen?
It's a great question.
I know. Go
Whatever
ahead.
the user wants.
Yeah, I don't care, man. When somebody makes a landscape video on Instagram, I turn my phone. You know, I just turn it. I got hands. They go like this or like this. And so whatever you thought was dope, then like,
Yeah.
okay, that's how you meant for me to view it. I'm gonna, you know, I would never tell Picasso like, yo, man, you can't use oil paints. You got to use watercolors because I like watercolors.
Yeah.
Like,
Ultimately, the user will win, right? And this
Always.
is what makes it tricky. It's like, it's not only the consumer behavior that's changing that makes this hard, it's the content itself that's changing, that's making it, and, you know, the formats that content is going to. All these 3 things are changing at once, which make this a particularly interesting time.
yeah, I mean, it actually makes it kind of beautiful in a way because it democratizes in many ways like what people can do. You know, you don't have to follow any. You know, you don't have to do what we do in a giant company. You don't have to do what someone else does down the street from you.
Right.
Like you can do it the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
It makes it challenging from a business perspective, but
Getting back to Snapchat, is it the demographics that make it special, or is there something in the way you see the technology evolving, or that makes it a unique platform? Because I'm still confused as to how it will differentiate itself over time besides filters. And I'm trying to figure out why would any, you know, is it the next MySpace, or is it really going to become a real player?
That's 2 questions.
All right, sorry.
but I would before you answer, I'm curious as to the number of people in this room that use Snapchat every day.
Right. How many of you guys use Instagram video every day? More.
Ooh.
Right, because y'all are
Bunch of Facebook
Yeah.
employees in this room.
right. Because y'all are old. No, just kidding. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Did you want me to or? I think Snapchat has a lot of what I notice from my team of people, and I have people who are in their early 20s all the way to people who are in their early 40s, is that Snapchat has a lot of validity for them, and I believe some part of it is because there is some form of an underdog story there of like, hey, this is a company that came out of nowhere and it had maybe a different type of use case, and so we gravitate towards it like that because our parents don't know what it is. So will you ever replace that? I don't necessarily know. I mean, it seems like, Facebook is on a mission to redo that whole thing and enable all of that capability for people in a different audience and bring that all to them. So will the scenario just be, all right, you've got the young kids over here because they're trying to keep a secret from, your kids, your grandkids are trying to keep a secret from you, and, shots fired, what can you say? But you're doing the exact same thing using a different platform because it's beneficial to you because you've learned it already, and maybe we older people are at our max capacity of like, I don't want to learn a new thing, so I'm just not going to use that. But it's the similar way I think of when I was a kid and my dad was like, yo, can you get the clock to stop flashing on the VCR? Like, come fix this for me. Like, he had just, he was, 50 years old and got to a point where he was like, I don't need to learn any more technology. I'm good for life. So I don't know that it's, going to be the next MySpace, that, you think it's going to go up and flare and be done. I just think it's a harder market. There's the competition is really complicated, and that is what's kind of like that's what I think is pushing your question right now.
Yeah, I mean, the form factor makes it really different, but the other big thing right now is just the numbers. The level of engagement and how many people are on Snapchat is like unbelievable. So the numbers are just mind-blowing.
Every kid is doing it.
All the cool kids.
Every kid. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Hi, my name is Brian Storm. We're on a company called Media Storm. We're a small independent production company. And I'm curious what you guys think about that. Like, you talk about fragmentation, and that's something I wake up every day and I'm like, man, the world is so wide. There's so many places to distribute your content. Do you have any advice for a small independent producer?
Do you have a Snapchat channel?
No, because it disappears.
Slightly
I don't wanna
rhetorical. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Brian.
So our strategy with publishers is that if you build an audience and drive them to your owned and operated inventory, you're going to generate the most revenue. And there's tools out there aside from ours that make that very easy, so you could focus on producing your content and creating it.
Yeah, I mean, as a content creator, as a content producer, I would just say, again, the basic physics of the market are that because it's become easier to create content, you have a lot of people creating content, so there's a flood of content. So in order to differentiate yourself or find real product market fit for your content and be able to drive revenue, I think it's more important than ever than to really think about who your audience is and how to, in very unique ways, reach that audience. And there's lots of different ways. Social is one way to do that. You might not make much money, but that's one way to do it. Other ways, as I think Brian was suggesting, would be to create some kind of hub for very specific users who that content addresses or appeals to, and go after them directly. But it's a more challenging environment, I think, to make it as a content producer generally.
I would say intelligently diversify the portfolio of things that you do. So at Viacom, like the vast majority of shows that we have, we don't make them. We purchase them from third-party production companies. Love and Hip Hop is the biggest show on Monday night. Other side's Monday Night Football. It's bigger than The Bachelorette. We buy that from Eastern. Someone came up with that idea elsewhere, pitched it to us, and we were like, that's dope. We can make money off of it. We purchase it. We have other companies, production companies we use that are heavy in our with our marketing teams, and so they do that kind of work. So I just think you have to make some decisions about, hey, is there space for me to make marketing stuff? Is there space for me to make content that's going to be turned into a TV show? Do I need to hook up with someone like me? Because we made a documentary that we co-did with YouTube last year. So we came up with the idea in-house. We shot some of the stuff, but then it ultimately, because of all the things we had going on, we had to hire an outside production company to really take all of our footage, do some extra stuff for us, and put it together. So I don't think that there's a shortage of work for someone like you. I just think that you have to be smart about like what you want to do, what you'd be willing to do, and like how you're going to pitch it and how you're going to position yourself.
Yeah, I would just say as one minor follow-up point, does everybody here know what a DSP is? Demand-side platform in the world of advertising? There is no such thing as a DSP for content, but if there was such a thing as a DSP for content, you could produce your content, put it into that DSP, and the DSP would find the right audience for you. The only reason I bring that up is because when you talk about AI and you talk about technology that's fundamentally going to change the way media works and change the way you find and discover and ultimately consume content, we think that's ultimately where we will end up.
Okay, we're out of time, I'm afraid. So Snapchat questions for the next social panel. We can talk about it more. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.